Hi everyone, welcome to Staying Green in Quarantine, where we're sharing tips to help you build a more sustainable lockdown. If you're enjoying our videos, don't forget to subscribe for more like this every week. Now, last time we showed you how to take some common items of household waste and turn them into really cute planters for indoors and outdoors. And today we'll be showing you how to put them to good use with a variety of plants and flowers. Gardening like this is super easy, and it's also a great way to bring some life and greenery indoors during your time in isolation, especially if you don't have much outdoors space. It's also a perfect activity for a lazy Sunday afternoon, and it's really rewarding, especially if, like us, you're planting vegetables, because you can watch them grow and then harvest them and eat them come autumn. We're using a variety of plants and seeds that you can pick up from most supermarkets, but we'll also share a link in the description below for places you can get them in a more environmentally friendly and sustainable way. Today we'll be planting some bedding plants in some cans, and we'll also be sowing out some peas and carrots and transplanting some seedling peas and carrots that we started about a month ago, so you can see how to care for your plant throughout the beginning of its life cycle. Okay, great, let's get started. Cool, so before we get started, just a quick note on the compost that we're using. Now we've picked out a nice organic compost online, and we'll pop a link in the description for places that you can do the same. The reason for that, a lot of compost that you'll buy in shops or in garden centres contains peat, and peat is the largest carbon sink on land in the world, which means it absorbs loads and loads of the carbon that we emit into the atmosphere, and when it's taken out of its natural environment, it releases it back, which is obviously really, really damaging. It's simple to buy organic compost. You can get it online, and it's often at the same kind of price point as other types of compost. Or if you're feeling really adventurous, we started making our own compost about a month ago from scratch around the house and from the kitchen. We'll be uploading a video so that you can get started on that and show you how easy it is as well. So in the last video we took some tin cans and turned them into plant pots, and we're now going to be putting them to use. At our weekly shop last week we picked up some bedding plants. You can get them from most shops, they're super cheap, really easy to grab. We're just going to be popping them in these cans so we can actually have them around indoors, and they'll bring some greenery and some light into the inside space. Now the first thing to do is just basically take your can and fill up about maybe 2/3 with soil, with compost. We're using a trowel which we picked up online. You don't need to, you can use your hands if you want to, if that's going to be easier, whatever's kind of available to you. So fill it up about 2/3 full, and we're just going to squeeze from the bottom here. Nice squidge. So when you're doing this, you want to try and get the whole chunk of soil out with you. Yeah, that's fantastic. So you get the whole chunk of soil out, and a tip that my dad actually taught me, what you want to do once you've done that is just kind of rip the bottom bit just a little bit, and just kind of stress it out just a little bit so the roots kind of are a bit more active and have a place to go. Once you've done that, you're just going to pop it directly into your pot. You want to get it so the stem of the pansy is sitting about maybe 1 centimetre below the rim. And then you're just going to fill in around it with some more compost. Compost everywhere. Right, so the last thing to do then is just give it a firm tap down, just to make sure the soil's in and nice and strong. You don't need to tap it too hard, to be honest. You want to leave it just a little bit loose so that the roots have somewhere to go. So the last thing to do with this plant is just give it a little bit of water so it's ready to go. Now what I've done is I've taken a can and I've just put some holes in the bottom here. That's because when you're watering like a seedling or a little plant like this, you want to be really careful. You don't want to just take a jug and pour water straight on, because it could damage the plant. So we're just going to water it through this can, and hopefully that will make the plant a little bit happier. So we've got 2 containers to plant our carrots out in, because we're going to try 2 different techniques. The first one is this. It's literally like the bottom like 5/6 of a juice carton. We've just cut the top off. And then this is one that we made last time. It's just the bottom like 1/4 of a plastic bottle. I'll explain the different purposes that they both serve in a second. But the way you want to get started is you want to take the containers and fill them up almost completely with your compost, maybe leaving like a between 5 and 3 centimetre gap at the top. So just filling it all the way up, nice and full. Now the thing with carrots is they grow best in quite loose soil, so they've got room to expand. So once you've filled in your container almost all the way to the top, what you want to do is give it just a little tap to firm the soil down a little bit, but not too much, and then you're good to go. The thing with carrot seeds is they're really small, so the easiest way to sow them is just kind of by the handful. And that's exactly what we're going to do in this little pot. We're going to sprinkle about 10 seeds or so in this little pot, and then when they get started, when they get growing, we'll just thin them out. So we'll remove the smaller carrots, and we should only leave maybe 2 or 3 to grow in here later. The other way to grow carrots in a pot is just putting them in a pot that's going to be big enough to sustain them until maturity. If the carrot seeds are already small, but if you can pick out just 1 or 2 and put them directly into a pot, then that would work perfectly as well. We're going to put 2 in here because it should be able to hold them. We'll just pop the seeds and then we'll cover them with a very thin layer of compost and they'll be ready to go. I'm going to show you how to thin the carrots out, and it's quite a precise task. It is a little bit difficult, so I've taken my gloves off for this. What you want to do is get right in there and identify some of the smaller shoots that you've got, like this one just here for example, and you're just going to dig in a little bit into the soil, just a little bit, and grab as far down as you can and just pull up, and you should just pull out the whole root just like that. There it is. So now that we started thinning out the carrots a little bit, we're going to show you how you can actually transplant some of them. Now, the thing with this is carrots don't really like being transplanted, so you've got to be really careful when you do this. Doing them one at a time is very important. That said, it is possible. I have done it before, and it's a great way to make sure that you don't throw away the carrots that you've already started growing. So we're filling this container up to about 5 centimeters or so away from the top, and then we'll give it a nice pad down when it's ready. But not too much, because remember, carrots prefer loose soil. So we're going to transplant 4 carrots into this container. The first thing to do is prepare your hole. So take a stick or even just a pencil or anything, and what you want to do is just pop it right in and make a kind of a reasonably sized hole, about 1/2 centimeter in diameter, and we're making 4 of those. And it should be fairly deep as well. It should be a few centimeters deep. Carrots' roots go quite deep. Now, the method for this is very much the same as we were doing before. What you want to do is identify the carrot that you want and just clear out some of the way around the soil at the bottom. And you just are going to try and loosen that soil a little bit more than you would have otherwise. We'll pull to get it out of the soil, and there we have it. Now, carrots don't like being outside of soil, so the second that you've done that, what you want to do is take it and just pop it straight into one of the holes that you've made. Now, the reason that you've made these holes, and is very important, is it's important when you're replanting the carrots to make sure that you're putting the roots in absolutely straight, as much as the same as the way as they were before as possible. And once you've done that, you're just going to reach around the carrot and kind of beneath it almost, to close that hole up around the root. So you can see I've got my finger right in there, right in the soil, and we're just firming it. But again, not too firm, because carrots prefer nice and loose soil. And I'm just going to use my hands. Now, what you're going to want to do when you're transferring them is you just want to put a little bit more soil, so have the soil level about maybe 1/2 centimeter higher than it was in the carrot's other container. Our transplanted carrots looking nice and happy, and we're going to pop them just on the side there so they get some sunlight. So we've also got this hanging basket that we made last time, and we're going to use this to plant out some peas. Now again, we just picked these up from the local shop. They're super easy to take care of. We're actually planting a new set of peas every 2 weeks for about 2 months, so that when it comes around to autumn, we've got a nice rolling harvest of them. And again, the way to do this is super simple. Just take your container and fill it up about 3/4, so to about 5 to 7 centimeters below the rim with soil. Then just pop your peas in. You want to make sure with peas they're nice and spaced out, so we're just going to put 3 in this container. You want to leave at least 5 centimeters between them so they've got room to grow and expand. Once you've done that, cover them over, fill the container right up to the top with soil, so you've got about 5 centimeters of soil on top of the peas. Give them a water, and then they should be ready to go. Now, it's worth noting before we finish here, we've chosen to put the peas in a hanging container because peas are actually climbing plants. So hopefully when they start to sprout, they should latch onto this nice taut string that's around the edge, and they should be able to climb up them, and that'll give them some support for when they start growing and producing fruit. So I mentioned earlier that we've already planted out some carrots and peas. We've actually planted them in quite small containers, and on reflection, I'm not really sure it's going to work to have them all in these kind of containers. They're a little bit cramped up. Especially this one here is not growing so well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to transplant this pea into its own container, its own little hanging basket. This is going to be useful if you start by planting your peas or your carrots in smaller containers, but you need to put them in like a larger pot, or even plant them directly outside once it started to grow. So the first step is getting the plant out and making sure you don't disturb its root structure too much. So you want to really pull it out with all the soil that's surrounding it. Then you're going to prep the pot. So what we're going to do is we're going to just put a little bit of compost at the bottom here, but he's already got a lot of compost that's coming with him, so we're actually not going to need to put in too much as well. We're going to prep the pot, and then the third step is going to be we're going to take the plant and actually put it directly into the pot and make sure it's all kind of settled in and nice and firm down. And then the final step is just adding some compost around the edges and around the top, just to make sure it's really nice and firmed in. And then, as with everything else, the last thing to do is give it a water, and then it should be ready to go. So the last thing we're going to do today is we're going to plant out this into a seedling container. Now you may remember last time we made these from the inside of a toilet roll tube, which means it can just be planted directly into soil and the cardboard will biodegrade. We put a little carrot in here, we kept it inside nice and warm, and that's the benefit of these. You can keep them inside and you can keep them warm and nice and well watered. And we're just going to plant it directly into this container, and the carrot then should be able to just go straight through till harvest. So as with everything else, we're going to start by just popping a little bit of soil into this container. But this time, compared to with the other carrots we've been using, we're going to leave quite a big gap, a gap that's tall enough to fit this directly in with the seed hanging on top. So maybe like 7 or so centimeters. Pat it down a little bit. Now, the easiest way to do this is we're actually going to undo a little bit of the work that we've done before. So we're going to squeeze either side of this container, and we're going to, I don't know if you can see, and we're going to just open up at the bottom here. So make sure we're holding all the soil in. We're just opening it up at the bottom. That means that the carrot's going to have somewhere to go when you're planting it, when it's planted in, and then you're just going to pop it right in like that. And we're going to fill right up to the top of this container now, right up to the top with compost all the way around, and it's going to be nice and loose packed in. And just right up to the top there, just like that. Brilliant. Before we water, there's just one more step, and that's I'm just going to cut off the excess cardboard here with a pair of scissors. You don't have to do this, but I just think it makes it look a little bit nicer, which means it's not blocking the light, it doesn't look ugly, and it's still able to support the carrot. And I'm cutting it just a little bit below the level of the soil, so I can cover over the top of it, and there you have it. Great. And then the last step, as always, give him a bit of water. Just a little bit for this guy. Thanks for watching today, everyone. We hope you enjoyed it and you're feeling excited and inspired to bring some greenery into your garden or even indoors during your time in lockdown. We'd love to hear about what you're getting up to, so share photos of your gardening projects with us on social media or tell us about it in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it and share it with some of your friends and subscribe to the channel. And as always, stay home, stay safe, stay green.